Now, I get to travel the world. I did approximately 18 or 19 events this year. And I will tell you, this event was unlike any other, and in a place that felt safe, that felt comfortable, that felt organized. You know, the notes that they gave me, the printouts, it was perfection. They wanted everybody to shine. So it is an honor for me to be able to thank the co-organizer of the Token Summit, someone who is also a board member of the Crypto Country Association. He's a man that I personally respect. He is somebody that my first trip to Liechtenstein ever, he picked me up from the airport. He stood there in the lobby, and I remember looking at this word, Bitcoin Swiss, and he looked at me and said, welcome. He drove me safely, of course. He did tell me, watch out, don't speed, they will get you. But then when I came into Liechtenstein, I realized that this community was so welcoming. And it was welcoming because there is a belief that you can be different. You can do it the right way. And it's with that I'd like to bring up the one and only Pablo to talk about building a blockchain ecosystem, because it does matter. Let's give Pablo a round of applause.
Thank you.
To my dear friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, we're almost over, huh? It's been a long day. Everybody's tired. But I think it's been an incredible day. I hope you guys... Did you guys enjoy yourselves? Yes? Let's give a crowd there. Okay, good. People enjoy themselves. Today's panel is a really interesting panel because building blockchain ecosystems, it's hard. It's something very, very hard to do. And all these gentlemen that are here have been part and working of building ecosystems in each of their own jurisdictions. And we were talking today that where is the tipping point of building an ecosystem? Today, with this conference, Liechtenstein has achieved a tipping point where the ecosystem starts growing. So I have the pleasure to introduce Olaf from CV Labs, Switzerland. He's going to be on our panel. Dr. Martin Anger from University of Liechtenstein. Sheraz Ahmed from Storm Partners. And the one and only Nikola. My friend, we have ages working together. Nikola from MetaChange Capital. So to start it off, I'd like to, if you could start introducing yourselves, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah. Olaf?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Olaf. I'm one of the co-founders of CVVC and CV Labs. At CVVC, we invest venture capital in blockchain startups. Have done 50 deals in over 20 countries in 4 different continents. And at CV Labs, we're building ecosystems. So we run co-working spaces in Zug, small one here in Vaduz, in Cape Town, and from next month onwards in Berlin. We organize events, similar to this. We write reports and we advise.
Excellent, excellent. Martin?
Hi, my name is Martin. I'm an economist here at the University of Liechtenstein, so I'm from the economic side and not the technical side. And what we try to do, of course, is deliver you guys the human resources to build the ecosystems. And what we found is that the young students we have, that they earlier than we, already in 2007, 17, 18, they already saw their opportunities in the space, and they asked for courses, they asked for thesis topics, and we try to keep up with the industry as good as possible and educate the students as good as we can.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Hi, lovely to see you all. I'm Sheraz Ahmed, so I wear 2 hats, one that you actually saw in the previous panel regarding associations. So I'm the co-executive director of the Crypto Valley Association, and the other hat is being the managing partner of Storm Partners, where we support in the building of ecosystems and help in a 360-degree manner to facilitate the growth in the space. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Nikola.
So I'm Nikola, and first of all, thanks everyone for still being around here at 5 p.m. We appreciate it a lot. I have in the past built layer 1 technologies out of Liechtenstein, which is why I'm actually quite happy to be back here. And for the last couple of years, we have built ecosystems on, I think, 4 different continents, in Europe, Africa, India, and I think it was the US, if I'm not mistaken. We have done roughly the same amount of deals like CVVC. I'm very happy to see Olaf here. And nowadays I am working with the European Union in order to get them to invest into blockchain technology.
Excellent. We just had a chat before coming in, and one of the things that we were talking about was, what's the definition of an ecosystem? So I'm going to ask around. Olaf, maybe you can start off. How do you define an ecosystem?
Yes, I think it's a combination of 3 or 4 things. Number one is talent. So that's in the form of education that then develops into startups and projects. You need capital to support that, and ideally also you want to have industry to be either a beneficiary or a fosterer or work on pilot projects. And then obviously the last one is a legal framework and a general setting, also an infrastructure in the region that enables all of that to come together efficiently.
That's a perfect definition.
Perfect, there you go.
We're done.
There you go.
So hard job for you. Now, but what I would like to add is, and I think this is maybe an important aspect, what distinguishes an ecosystem from just ideas, and that is that it's a balance of services, products, and personalities, which is very hard to keep. Because, I mean, we all know ICO boom and stuff like that. Technology was not that bad at the time, but other things were missing. And therefore, I think that keeping this balance is something which defines an ecosystem, because it can only survive if you keep it balanced.
Fantastic. Well, hard one to beat. And all
I'm sorry, I'm adding, this is like, Nikola is saying, I'm the last one. This is terrible.
So what's going to happen?
I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I define an ecosystem as a collective of individuals that come together for a common purpose. And I think, in my opinion, it's really that purpose that stands ground when you're looking at the ecosystem. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit later about like how to develop, how to sustain an ecosystem, but I really believe it's core to that purpose. Like, why did we come together to build out what we're building? And so really being able to be very like crystal clear about what's that purpose that we're here today building, and why are we here, be it in Liechtenstein, Switzerland, or wherever, bringing these people together, bringing this ecosystem together, so that then you can understand, okay, where are we going to take this, and it keeps everybody aligned and on the same wavelength.
Purpose is a very, very good example, but for me, one thing that I've learned in my experience is that vision is also incredibly important. You need to know where you want to go, and you need to understand what the different pieces of the puzzle are, which you need to put together in order to get to that part. We had legal frameworks, we have an incubation acceleration with capital, etc., pp. But one thing that I want to drive down a little bit more is education, actually, because in order to subsidize this ecosystem, on one side, you need to develop the talent to drive this forward, but on the other side, you also need to be open to import or at least connect to talent from outside of your ecosystem in order to grow this ecosystem into the next level. It's a continuous process. So in building an ecosystem, you never stop. There's always more to be done. There's always more people to get involved and more projects to be built, and as a result, obviously, more projects to be financed. For me, those are the important parts.
I mean, I was in Switzerland since 2016, and I really saw how it just absolutely exploded. I mean, I remember 2016, I went to the Gemeindehaus and I asked, where's Crypto Valley? And they looked at me and it's like, crypto what? No, it's not here. It must be somewhere else. Like, no, it's here. And then today, you don't ask that question. Everybody knows where Crypto Valley is. What do you think sparks that? I mean, if there's one thing that really sparks that, what sparked it in your case or in other areas?
Do you want to go first?
Who wants to take it?
What sparks what?
What sparks the development of the ecosystem?
The initial people that come into it in order to build it. That is a key important point of the thing, because those are the people which you're going to identify with that ecosystem. And if they're bad actors, this is going to have a ripple effect, which is going to lead to bad examples, which is going to lead to bad results. So having key pillars in an ecosystem that you can relate to, that you can contact, that you visibly see, and that you can interact with, become a crucial point in an ecosystem, in my opinion. I would go with that, so I can leave something for the other.
Thank you. I was like, oh, is he going to say 3 more points?
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. And one thing I think that people don't realize is the amount of sacrifice that it takes to build an ecosystem. Because many times what you're doing is you're like Don Quixote going against the windmills. You know, you're going against the regulation, you're going against, you know, that the capital won't come here, you know, and you're really fighting against all that, and you need a group of individuals. I totally agree. A group of individuals that just, it doesn't matter what they throw at you, you continue on to be able to get to that tipping point, you know? But that's,
This is where you get back to vision and purpose, what you
Right.
mentioned, right? When this is clear, you go and you fight those windmills. And I mean, out of my, again, like personally, I love pioneering. So for me, like being the first one to do this, to be able to set a precedent and to allow people to follow down that path. You know, if it's a mud road and you do the first couple of times so that people afterwards can have a path that they can walk towards the goal, then we have succeeded.
the first ski trail.
It's
You
first
create
ski
the
trail.
first
That's a
ski
good one.
trail.
That's a
There,
good one.
there you
That's a
go.
good one.
You do the first ski trail.
Trailblazing straight up.
Trailblazing.
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. I think it takes a unique group of individuals to be there with different talents that are willing to say, okay, let's go forward, and that starts. But I think more than starting, maintaining an ecosystem is also something that's difficult, no?
Yeah.
And in your case, you've probably found a whole bunch of difficulties when you were starting there in Switzerland. You did have a lot of support from the government, I think, there, no?
Yes, but also there were like some key incidents that kind of drove this, which, you know, the big one is obviously Ethereum and Vitalik coming there. And then relatively, you know, around that same time, Bitcoin Swiss, Crypto Valley Association, something forming, then the local cantonal government being very open-minded very early on, right, and being very welcoming. One of, I thought, the clever moves there was, I think it's already 3 or so years ago, where if you're a startup and you found a new company, you can pay your capital contribution account in Bitcoin in the canton of Zug. Now, not a lot of startups has used this, but it's sending a message to an ecosystem, and the message is, we're open for you, we're open for innovation. At that point, we didn't have the legal side figured out yet.
Right.
But, you know, if the finance minister or if the canton says, you can do these things, it sends a message, which is, we're here to learn and work with you. And I think that's a very strong message. And then things followed. So we were kind of, in a way, then, I don't want to say jumping on that, but, you know, using that momentum to try and attract startups. And then obviously the benefit of Switzerland and Liechtenstein is a lot of talent also travels through the country. So you're not isolated to kind of just building a national ecosystem, but you can actually foster, if you do it right, international talent transfer both ways. And that's what makes it really exciting.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that the positive signals from the government indicating, no, you can't do this, but yes, you can try. For me, I remember the first time I came here to Liechtenstein, one of the little stories is I was actually Thomas Nagele's first crypto client when I arrived here. And I remember sitting with the FMA, explaining what our project was, and the first thing that surprised me was the answer was not no. Because I come from the telecommunications industry, and every time I sit down with a regulator, the first thing that they said was no. And here is like, this could be. And I was like, we left that meeting, and I was like, okay, this is where we're going to do this. because that was a positive
Yeah,
signal.
it's that signaling. I mean, one of the other examples, and I don't remember if it was 2017 or 2018, at one of our summits, which is comparable to this at the time, we had Johann Schneider-Ammann then presiding over the Bundesrat, and he phrased that term, I want Switzerland to be known as blockchain nation Switzerland, right? And that was the first time that got termed at our event. And we know of people who are like immediately go like, let's secure that web page, right? Let's get that domain quickly. But you know, again, it's about that messaging early on from the relevant stakeholders and policymakers.
I think that's key to develop this common goal.
Yeah.
This common idea of a problem you want to solve or a need you want to serve, together with a regulator, with the government, we always talk about ecosystems, they need to grow and they need to work together, and this is all true, but this has to start right from the beginning, and I think that this has to really have one carrying thought. And this is why it's working so good in Liechtenstein, in my point of view, because we all see, and the first thing maybe was the financial market, of course, but the other markets, we all have one common goal, what we want to do. And this is key to get through the hard times, through the crypto winters and through all that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, through the crypto winters, what I've seen is that's where most things get built.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's true.
so we were talking, we were having a conversation with a couple founders, and they were like, wow, now it's building time. Now it's the real time to thrive. And in some ecosystems where it doesn't have a solid grounding, those are the ones that falter at that point where you get the crypto winter, because you don't have a solid base.
Yeah, and I would also like add the tenacity that you need to be able to do that, right? To keep that like spark alive, you need those individuals that have been there from that get-go to be able to kind of keep things going throughout, let's say, the times when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I always say from like the Crypto Valley perspective and also the Crypto Valley Association, we see these waves, of course, it's a lot of volunteers. And so what really keeps us alive is the new energy that comes in, and that kind of reasserts kind of like the mission and vision that we have to kind of grow this ecosystem out, is that there's always new curiosity, new individuals coming, and it kind of keeps that fire, let's say, lit within the association, because it's not just people that have been there for the past like 8 years that are now kind of maybe getting grumpy because things aren't moving faster. You always have every week new people joining and kind of keeping things going and keeping that light moving forward. And so even those that were there, let's say many years ago, they're still like, wow, okay, there's new ideas, there's new movements. And I think that also keeps us going as well, because we have people that are, pushing us up as well.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I mean, today I was talking with the founder, the president of the Crypto Country Association of the Czech Republic. And we were like, I think that the next step, once you are formed and you have the ecosystem, is how ecosystems can collaborate between each other. And this is a concept, there's a lot of the competition, but I think there's a lot of competition that has to occur. That ecosystems find in what parts they're more resilient, and in the others, how they can collaborate. Like we were talking with Czech Republic, they have incredible developers. They have an incredible amount of developers, companies that are established. And we have an incredible framework. So what we were saying is, we're not trying to take your talent from the Czech Republic here, because the government wouldn't be very happy about that, because they want to fix when people to get their jobs. But we can give you a framework, a legal framework, where you can leapfrog the problems that you have while they're getting their framework ready to be able to start. And I think that's one of the things that we need to explore between the ecosystems, how we can build a more resilient global ecosystem. And building the bridges. With Nikola, we talked a lot about building bridges. And not all of them work, We tried this with Uruguay. We put the government in contact with each other, the associations also. But I think that the more we try to do this, the more we can expand and collaborate between the ecosystems, you know?
If I may just jump into that one, I think it's also this fact that we have a lot of like individuals that come to our ecosystem and ask to kind of get involved, and then we don't tell them, okay, like you can create your own, let's say maybe like Swiss crypto regulatory association. We're like, okay, why not incorporate within the regulatory working group that we have within the Crypto Valley Association with the other members of the team, the volunteers that are there bringing things together, and you don't have to kind of be able to start your own ecosystem in a way. You can join others, we can cooperate, and we can have a greater purpose together in what we do. So I think that also the bringing us of together, we're mentioning kind of how hard it is to build up an ecosystem. So actually combining those efforts together really goes a long way.
Yeah, but keep in mind that everybody wants to have their own kind of success story, right? So every country, especially in the EU or around us, wants to be able to identify themselves with what they have achieved. Just to keep this simple, look at how many countries adopted the e-government from Lithuania. And they were like, take it. It's there, enjoy it. Everybody can use it. Everybody can implement it. Everybody can go ahead and become a part of this. We're giving it to you. How many countries did to do this? Not one. So it's one thing to build an ecosystem, but building a bridge to another one where implementing a framework from a functioning framework, by the way, from Switzerland, for example, to the Czech Republic or any other country is not as simple, because there's not only the issue of different laws at the end of the day, but also the willingness to, you know, like accept that somebody has been faster, that somebody has done something, be like, yeah, we're just going to implement this in Leapfrog, which you've mentioned. So it's a pity, but it is a fact that we have seen over and over the years. And the one and only ones that were ready to do this, which I highly appreciate until today, was Central African countries. They were just like, we're so far behind, we'll just take it and leapfrog everybody else. And that was amazing.
I mean, I think that's very interesting, and I agree with you that the individualities of the country. Today we had a DAO panel and we were talking about cloud nations, you know, cross-border and people with same values and coming together. But I think in terms of ecosystems, what some countries are finding, and normally it's the smaller countries that find this because they don't have all of the resources, that by collaborating, they can jump. I give you only the example between the Czech Republic and Liechtenstein. They see that. We have them today here as one of our sponsors. They bought 7 companies here. And I think once you see successful experiments of those, others are going to say, hey, maybe, you know, this works. Expanding an ecosystem. We've gone through. Yeah, I saw that. we did the sign zero. I know. I sort of know the guy who's
you get context.
So the last expanding the ecosystem. I know that you have expanded from Switzerland to other countries. Mm-hmm. How has that experience been?
So our main focus the last 1.5 years was build out in Africa. So we have a hub in Cape Town. And our vision on Africa is, well, you mentioned some of that, but the vision there is clearly one where, first of all, we believe this technology is made for this continent, when you think it through, right? In terms of super young population, average age of people in Africa is 19. The next country, the next continent is South America, was 34. Mobile only. They don't really have, or mobile first, they don't really have credit cards, trust issues in a lot of parts of the continent. So the technology is made for it. And also on the higher talent end side, you do have good amount of talent, right? It just, you know, it just right. More spread out. So our vision there was to be one of the early VCs to go there. And funny enough, that coincided with also some of the protocols going there. And then that obviously then helped, right? Because you're there with some capital, there is protocols and a few other international investors that come in roughly at the same time. Universities are still very open-minded to partner with you. We had done a few deals in the country already before, so then it's kind of word of mouth and that's spreading. So it was less of an isolated incident, like, or kind of a few isolated incidents in Switzerland and then something kind of started, but more some of the, I would say, established international players realizing the opportunity that the continent presents, to them, and then going there and trying to make things happen. It's just a breadth of startups that are there. They historically struggled to kind of move from local capital towards international capital, but now the international capital is in the continent, and then they can help them leapfrog and connect with international capital.
I'm very interested to see how that experience, expands.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit over time. We thank you for your patience. I thank you all for being here, for being in the first conference from the Crypto Country Association in Liechtenstein. So thank you very much.
Thank you.